Welcome. What is up? Welcome to the Mixer. I'm your host, RC. I'm joined by my co-host here, Jeff. We are back. How are you?
I'm good. It was a surprising week off last week.
hmm
Granted, Thanksgiving is a busy week, but yeah, glad to be back.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy belated Thanksgiving to everybody out there. We wanted to get this. We wanted to get a show in. We tried. I was pretty much, well, I wasn't working through lunch, but I really needed to wind down. And I only got a half hour lunch last week because it was just crazy. I was on my own. But we got it done. We grinded, whatever the right verb tense is there. We got through it. However, I am disappointed. It's going to become an annual tradition here. Jeff, do you have something to get off your chest about Thanksgiving?
To be honest, not really, other than I want to fight whoever decided that turkey was like the main Thanksgiving dish.
hmm
Granted, like my family, we've always added ham in there. Turkey's kind of like whatever. If you want it, you can have it, but like it's not a big deal. But like turkey's like the worst meat to make like a main course out of, at least in my opinion. That's the only thing I really want to get off my chest.
You just haven't had good turkey, man. You just haven't had
No,
good
man,
turkey.
no one likes turkey like that.
I love turkey.
The best part about turkey is eating it the next day.
Yeah, I'm the leftover compost man here. So I've gone through quite my fair share of leftovers. The bird came out pretty good. Um, it's a neutral flavor. It doesn't have a strong flavor, but it's low cal. You butter it up a little bit. I mean, you're undoing the low cal, but
I was gonna
protein.
say,
I'm more of a poultry guy. You know, Usually I go out. I'm going for the white meat. I get well, I don't get chicken so much anymore. Like if you go to a nice restaurant, I usually get some fish or something. But
yeah,
but yeah, I've always preferred poultry to beef. That being said, I love me some steak too. It's just that's been my jams. Um, Anywho, so okay, I feel like you've come down a little bit off of your take last year, just as saying that Thanksgiving was a trash holiday. Are you kind of softening? Has 2020 changed your opinion
no,
on our
man. I
national holiday?
like the spirit of Thanksgiving. I can enjoy, but
hmm
like the I don't know. It's still not up there in terms of holidays. Uh, but I mean, it does get the Christmas season kicked off, so it can't be that bad. But yeah, I mean, Thanksgiving's still at the bottom of the holiday list. Like that's not going to change.
that's not American, sir. And I mean, this is two straight shows now where you've been un-American. Last show, you did not go on record saying that the U.S. men's national team was going to win the next World Cup, despite strong showings by our
There's
young.
overwhelming evidence that they're not. So
And not only did you not support them, but you wanted to give credit to their success to a German nationalist. Um, so that's problematic. So Jeff, why are you so un-American? That's what the people want to know.
and no, I'm not un-American. I love America.
Mm.
I'm just realistic about this. I'm not one of these like America's the greatest thing ever when we're not at certain things. So
I don't know if you've heard, but America's back, Jeff. America's back. You
look,
know,
America's great. Probably the greatest country in the world, right?
mm,
I'm here with you
stretch.
on that. No, I mean, I'm talking overall, right? Like I'm not talking
Okay,
like any one specific thing. I mean like overall, probably the greatest country in the world.
you're saying if
But
there was a draft of countries, U.S. would be 101.
yeah, I mean our problems in a lot of ways are minor compared to like other countries and where like, China, if you're not Chinese, you might be worried about going to an internment camp right now, right?
Mm.
Or In a lot of places in this world, you might be worried about what you're going to eat today. Like, we don't have those worries here. We have more social worries, right?
That's
And
true.
social worries are always lower on the totem pole than survival worries. Um, so that's just really my thought. America overall is a pretty great place to be, but we definitely are not perfect.
We need to
That's
work
all
on our food holidays.
That's the start.
All right, wait. We'll start it off. I'm glad we got it off to a light start. Switching gears. Do you have any tilts, Jeff?
Uh, I mean, my tilt is the Philadelphia Eagles, 100%. Like, it's not even close.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, you don't
I
have
don't
Carson Wentz as your quarterback.
know, but I have Miles
Like,
Sanders.
mm,
And I just will never understand football teams or sports teams in general that don't get their best players involved more
talk
often.
about the 6 touches that Miles Sanders got.
He's
Uh,
literally like their second best receiver on the team, and
yeah,
you're not even going to give him passes. Like,
yeah. I
what's
heard
I?
Doug Peterson after the game said we got to find ways to get him the ball more, which is always the go-to when coaches mess up like that.
Yeah.
I feel you there. I didn't really have. Well, do you have any other tilts besides the Eagles and their continued ineptitude this season?
I mean, not really. Like, overall, I'll be completely honest. Overall, the fantasy season is going pretty well for me. So not many other tilts there, and just in life, I mean, life is going well.
Awesome.
Don't really have many tilts. Oh, wait, hold on. No, I got a story for you. Right.
All
Sorry.
right, I'm
I just
ready.
remembered this one. So last Wednesday, so I had a bunch of friends who were trying to play soccer Thursday morning, Thanksgiving morning. And last Wednesday, I was outside with the dogs. I was the only one home. And I got 3 dogs outside. And I'm just watching them. And a lot of you guys don't know our backyard, but basically there's a walkway. And the walkway, on either side of the walkway, there's dirt, right? We have a lot of dirt in our backyard. But the walkway and the dirt are like, there's like 2 inches of separation from the walkway to the top of the dirt. Okay.
Okay.
So almost like a curb. Think of it like
Okay.
that. So I'm on the walkway and I'm like, okay, I got nothing to do right now. Uh, what do I'm just watching the dogs. So I'm like thinking about how to work out since I can't go back to the gym,
Uh
right?
huh.
Since it's closed. So I remember this workout I used to do when I was younger. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to remember it. And so I'm like kind of going through the motions, right? And it's like a
Mm-hmm.
leg workout, like a jumping workout. So I start like just very small jumps, right? But like I start doing it a little bit and I'm in slippers. I'm not even in shoes or anything. And so it's just very small. And there's a point in the workout where you do like one-footed jumps kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm doing that. And then on one of my jumps on my right foot, I hit the edge of the little curb that I was talking about where the dirt and
Mm-hmm.
the walkway meet and just completely roll my ankle. And immediately I knew like, oh, I'm not playing soccer in the morning. And I usually play basketball on Mondays, and I decided to sit out basketball. It's not terrible. It's a little bruised, a little sore, but
High ankle or low ankle?
a low ankle, not high ankle,
Oh,
luckily.
thank God. Thank God. I
Yeah.
thought I thought we were gonna have reports of players wanting to throw up after seeing your ankle. Are you sure it's not just a cramp?
Yeah, I'm sure it's not just a cramp.
Okay. Just saying. Well, thoughts and prayers. Number one. Number two, ice up. Number three, buy some damn resistance bands. We need our own resistance bands sponsorship because yeah, I mean I feel like a tank after my resistance bands. No little 2-inch lip is gonna take down my ankles.
Right. I mean,
Anywho,
yeah.
Jeff versus time. Well, let us know how it goes, man. Yeah, hopefully you recover quick and you'll be back out there, you know, dropping threes or
I'm a,
whatever you do in basketball.
I mean, I might play tonight or tomorrow.
Oh,
So
there you go. There you
I'll,
go. Quick turnaround. Well, I had forgotten about this tilt, but luckily I wrote it down. And by writing it down, I mean the modern equivalent of typing it in my cell phone notes. So 2 weeks ago, heading into what is it, week 11 of the NFL, I had been pumping up PJ Walker and thinking that he was going to start for Teddy. It sounded like Teddy was going to start. And then Adam Schefter tweeted out that Teddy Bridgewater was expected to start. And I was out on a tampon run as real men do. By the way, if for the young lads out there, who maybe have not experienced this, but sometimes your lady, she can't get out and you have to do some shopping for her. And sometimes that shopping includes feminine hygiene products. I can't tell you how much cred I had gotten in the early days of the relationship for making those runs. I mean, I felt like such a upstanding gentleman doing that. Now I get zero cred, man. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. I still get the same looks at the registers, um, you know, but no cred. So I'm just saying, like, that wears off. Pick your spots, boys. That's all I'm gonna say. Pick your spots, so it means more because after a while, uh, that same cred you get fades. Anywho, so I'm out there making the target run. I hear that, or I'm just scrolling Twitter while I'm parking or something, and I see Schefter say that Bridgewater is expected to play, and so I had PJ Walker the whole time, and then I dropped him. I think I picked up Jalen Hurts because I keep kind of assuming that Wentz is going to get benched, so I want to have that in my back pocket. Um, and then yeah, it turns out Bridgewater is inactive. PJ Walker plays. And then by the time I got home, he was doing pretty well. He ended up not finishing the day too great. I think he finished with like 12 points. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been that much of a difference, but I've been wanting to start him because I want some of that sweet, sweet XFL high T energy on my team. Um, didn't get it. And so I am hereby formally withdrawing Adam Schefter's capital J. He is no longer a capital J journalist. He is a lower J journalist. So yeah, Schefter. I mean, two sources, man. Two sources. Day one, journalism school. Get it right.
That's rough.
We're making important decisions on our lineups based on you being 100. You're the one guy. You're the one guy that we feel we can take it as 100. We need that.
I did do something this week that I knew was either going to be extremely like boom or bust. And I kind of hate when people talk about boom or bust because like people don't really know what boom or bust is, right? Like people think boom or bust is like 15 points or 5 points, and like that's not it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really like chances of going over like 25 points, right? Basically, like chances of winning your league or losing your league kind of thing. So I made a boom or bust play last week on Saturday, I think it was. Maybe it was before that. But I picked up Broncos practice squad wide receiver.
Oh, nice.
And started him at receiver in a league where like my team's not that good.
Hinton? What's his name? Something Hinton?
Yeah.
Tyler Hinton?
Yeah. And I was, I was like in my head, I'm like, well, I got a chance here, right? Like if he goes off, I probably win the week, right?
Yeah.
If he doesn't go off, well, I'm probably going to lose anyway, so it's not a big deal. I think it was -7 points later. It did not work out for me, right?
Mistakes
but it was one of those. Yeah, it was one of those. I mean, my other option was leave Julio Jones in.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
and that wasn't going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I mean, you're not alone. I know Evan Silva and Adam Levitan. I listen to their pod. They started him in like a high stakes league. So you got the big fish making plays like that. you can't really sweat it too much. Sometimes you got to take those shots. Kindle. I knew that last week, but quickly forgot his name. So don't beat yourself up too much. I'd be much more worried about missing the playoffs in our home league
which
than
is going to happen.
that play. Yeah.
First
All
time
right.
ever for me.
Let's get into the weeks that were. Let's start with. This is gonna be kind of quick and dirty since we got 2 weeks to go through. I'm just gonna kind of pick some storylines and maybe some games that stand out. I think the biggest thing in week 11, which was a great week of football, week 12, not so much. But week 11 started off with a game was very entertaining. But the kind of the main things we were looking at was kind of all the unique quarterback situations. And I mean, props to us, Jeff. We were way ahead of the game on this, knowing that quarterbacks are always a strong talking point, but this year more than others because of all the movement. And we saw one of those things kind of come to fruition with the Drew Brees energy. Taysom Hill obviously getting the start over Jameis Winston in week 11. Jeff, you predicted that Jameis would retire Drew Brees, and instead it looks like Taysom Hill may or may not be retiring Drew Brees, but definitely serviceable. Maybe the Saints were worried about having to keep Jameis in if they do really well, and if they just play Taysom Hill, who's like a gadget player, and they can scratch out some wins. They don't have to worry about that. If Drew Brees gets healthy, you could just slot him right back in. I don't know. What are your thoughts so far on Taysom Hill's performance as a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, Taysom is not a quarterback. Obviously he's not terrible, right?
Uh-huh.
But he's not good. He actually reminds me a lot of Tim Tebow in terms of kind of how they play, right? Like, obviously one's lefty, one's righty, but, Taysom Hill had 16 pass attempts and 10 rushing attempts the other day.
Mm-hmm.
He's about the only thing that can slow down Alvin Kamara, it seems like. But yeah, I thinking about this, and after week 11 where he had a solid week. Week 11 was better for him than last week. He actually got to throw 23 times in week 11, but he still had the 10 rushes. I think that they don't want to deal with the Jameis Drew situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they knew they could win these games with pretty much anyone at quarterback. So I think they decided to go Taysom. Because, think of the issues if Jameis comes in and just looks lights out, right?
Yeah.
Then comes back, what do you do at that point?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
Whereas, like, Taysom's been on the team. Like, even if he does well, it makes sense when Drew comes back, you kind of move him out of there, right? Back to his original role. But if Jameis does well, like, what do you do at that point?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. So yeah, Taysom Hill's stat line for week 12 wasn't that great. He did get 2 rushing touchdowns. He got 44 yards on the ground. Again, so this was the same game that Kendall Hinton started on the other side for the Broncos. So the Saints didn't really have to do too much. It was in Denver. The week prior, he had a much better day. He went over 200 yards, was pretty efficient as a passer. He got, let's see here, he was 8-3 for 233 yards. No touchdowns, no picks, but against a much better or much easier defense, a much better matchup, I should say, beating the Falcons 24-9. So, he's entertaining. I definitely want to watch more Saints games, but then again, Jameis isn't exactly unentertaining. So, I guess it remains to be seen about Taysom's Hills, but I haven't seen anything so far that tells me he's the quarterback of the future for the Saints, or this hybrid quarterback that's going to change the game.
Right.
Many would have thought he kind of is what he is. He's good for this type of stuff, but I don't think he can carry a team season after season to winning records.
Yeah.
And once defenses see more, they'll put in packages that take away what he does good. And I don't know if he has the talent to overcome defensive scheming towards what he can, to take away his strengths.
Right.
What are your thoughts on him losing his tight end designation in some fantasy football leagues? Do you have any strong takes on that?
Yeah, so this is I read something, I think Mike Clay posted about it, and he said that over the summer ESPN had mentioned that this would happen, that Taysom Hill would get, if he played quarterback, would get 1 week at quarter as a tight end QB, and then after that, if he continued to play quarterback, would be switched to QB. Mike Clay works for ESPN, so I kind of believe him if he's going to bring that up.
Yeah.
But I think it's very Bush League. Like, to me personally, I think, I get it. You stated it, but like, this isn't a running back wide receiver type thing where they kind of like cross paths. Like, this is like, I don't know. It just, some people do their drafts, and Taysom got a huge bump in some drafts because of this possibility. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think, my personal opinion, you knew he was starting at quarterback that first week. If you were going to make the change, you just make it that first week. Waiting until after that first week almost guarantees those teams a win that have him at tight end that week. But then it puts them in really weird positions the week after.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just not a fan of it. I think you either do it right away or don't do it at all.
Yeah. I don't really have an issue with them taking away his tight end designation. He wasn't playing tight end anymore. I feel that what Mike Clay said, that ESPN had said they were going to do this, I don't remember seeing that anywhere. It's not like I read every article on ESPN, but there should have been a blurb or something about his, a pinned blurb or something about his designation. I think my issue would more be why give him the tight end designation in the first place. I mean, I guess he lined up in at the end of the line there as a blocker sometimes. Sometimes he runs tight end routes, but that's not his position, right?
Right.
I had picked him up. Actually, if you look at our home league, I was the first one to own him. He went undrafted, and I think before week 1, I just dropped somebody who I thought wouldn't get any action, and I grabbed him in case, because I had thought maybe New Orleans was going to just involve him more. Maybe he was going to get all the snaps on the goal line, and maybe a few series, or a series here and there, or a few consecutive plays. And anyway, that didn't really happen, so I dropped him pretty quick. But I don't know, for people, some people are upset that he lost his tight end designation, and I feel that people that would only be justified are ones that drafted him and held on to him that whole time. If you picked him up as like a waiver wire freaking lotto pick, you don't really have the grounds to feel like you've been wrong,
right?
Because
I get you on that.
It's week to week, and the nature of his position changed, so you can't really expect to have that long-term benefit because of some decision that was made earlier that just turns out to be the wrong position designation for him.
Right. I actually think the issue part of it is he probably never should have been classified as a tight end,
Yeah.
right? Like he should have always been classified as a QB, and you just knew what you were getting. Once you classify him as a tight end, that's when you bring the possibility of these issues coming into play.
And with fantasy football, there's less of this, but fantasy baseball, obviously, there's a lot in order for players to get, certain infield designations.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope maybe this will establish something for future years, so it'll be clear and cut. Because I mean, there are players like Cordarrelle Patterson, who I believe has dual eligibility as running back, wide receiver. Deebo Samuel gets a lot of handoffs. Should he be running back
Well,
eligible?
I
Laviska
remember
Shenault
a couple
is
years
probably going to get
ago.
some.
Yeah, a couple years ago when Ty Montgomery kind of broke out,
Yeah.
and in our home league, I was essentially playing three running backs because I got to play him as a wide receiver, even though he got running back carries, right? And it was just such a huge advantage because you knew he was getting those carries.
Was he okay? So Ty Montgomery, he was the one that had the tight end designation, or what did?
No, he was a wide receiver, but then when Green Bay's running backs all got hurt, they
Yeah.
switched him to running back. And so it was
Okay.
like, okay, like I can just play. And since we have to start three receivers, I essentially
Yeah.
flipped it and was starting three running backs and two receivers.
Oh, I'm thinking. Okay, I was like, wait, wasn't there a tight end? It was Pittsburgh's tight end. I can't remember his name, but yeah, he was like their emergency running back, and he had
Oh, you're talking about Jalen Samuels from a couple years ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Where
so
he was
anyway,
drafted as a tight end or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm really, you know, for things like that, having multiple designations, I think it makes things interesting if the player is getting snaps there. But yeah, I mean, in the case of Taysom Hill playing quarterback, it just doesn't fit. He's not playing any snaps at tight end now that he's playing quarterback. So, he
Right.
might shift out for wildcat stuff, but not not consistent. So anyway, I just wanted to touch on that. Some other stuff that happened week 11. Let's see here. What was interesting? The Chargers barely held on to beat the Jets. The Dolphins sat Tua for Fitzpatrick in week 11, and then after week 11 happened, they said Tua is hurt. It's his thumb or something, and Fitzpatrick played in week 12. Do you think Tua should stay on the bench? I think someone went on record. I don't know if it was their coach or somebody in the organization said that Fitzpatrick gives them the best chance to win now, but that doesn't take away Tua being their guy. So, I mean, do you have any thoughts on that, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Miami didn't realize they were going to win games this year. Um, and I think that now they realize, like, oh, we actually have a chance at the playoffs. We can stick with Tua. And to Tua's detriment, right, he didn't come out blazing the way Herbert and Burrow did, right? He came
Uh-huh.
out looking like a below average quarterback. Not terrible, but like not good. And so then I think that, Miami's kind of in a weird position because even though they won a couple games with Tua, I think, I was reading a Miami beat writer who said that, like Devontae Parker isn't really like he thrives with Fitzpatrick, but he's
Mm-hmm.
not, he doesn't really fit what Tua likes to do and what Tua
Yeah.
is good at. So I think that the best course for them might be to sit Tua this year, draft or like pick up guys that fit whatever offense they want to run with Tua a little bit better, and then just trot him out there from game one next year.
Yeah. They got to make the decision now. I don't know what the right decision is. Um, I feel like the ceiling for the Dolphins is winning one playoff game. is it really worth delaying Tua's development to win one playoff game? I think I would lean on the side of playing Tua and and just sacrificing that just because it's the better long-term play. However, I see the dilemma that the Dolphins are having, but I would continue to roll Tua out there unless it's really showing that it's too much too soon for him. But he's been serviceable. He hasn't been great, but I mean he's playing like a rookie. I think a rookie quarterback should play. He's playing better than some other quarterbacks. It's not like he's the worst starting quarterback out there. So
Right.
I would roll him out there.
I agree.
Unfortunately, Fitzpatrick is the gold chain wearing aviator sunglasses, 3 buttons undone, backup Hollywood looking guy that went to Harvard. You may or may not know. Anywho, so that's just the way I see it. Any other games you want to touch on from week 11 or 12 before we move on? I mean, the Chargers really sucked against the Bills. I hope Anthony Lynn days are numbered in as a Chargers head coach. Really ugly sequence in that game, but other than that, I don't have too many thoughts on the NFL big picture besides the COVID situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much. A little disappointing the NFL is letting this Ravens Steelers game happen. They should have postponed it and just done it like a week 18 or something. But I mean, that's a different topic for a different time, I think.
They're really, I mean, money trumps all. They're really set on keeping the playoff schedule as is. I'm assuming they don't want to have to redo contracts with advertisers and networks. So, I mean, they're already losing a lot of money I guess they don't probably get a big share of their revenue from attendance, but they're definitely, counting their pennies this season. So, I mean, I'm with you. I keep thinking, I believe we've probably said it 2 or 3 times now for maybe not the NFL, but other sports, that maybe these outbreaks are going to be a wake-up call and get some compliance. But the fact that we're this far into this, and I mean, for those who are listening who may or may not have known, the whole Ravens outbreak started because their strength and conditioning coach was symptomatic, didn't report them, and then also didn't comply with the mask guidelines. And then the players who got infected, I don't really know about their compliance level, but my assumption is they were probably not wearing masks when they should. And subsequently they had, I heard 20 players at one point had the COVID IR designation, either due to testing positive or being in close contact. I heard one more tested positive today, but a few players came off, so I think they're going to be missing a total of 16 players. It's a good chunk of the team. I'm no mathematician off the top of my head, but that's about a quarter of the team.
And they don't have Lamar.
Yeah, and including Lamar Jackson, and at one point, Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins had the COVID designation. Yeah. This game was supposed to happen on Thanksgiving, and it still hasn't happened. Right. It's about to kick off in a half hour, as a matter of fact. So,
and I think Dobbins and Ingram are both actually eligible for the game, but from what I read, neither is actually going to play in the game.
Yeah, I heard that as well. And on top of this all, you have James Conner on the other side. The Steelers had their own little outbreak, which I haven't heard about what the source to that was. But, James Conner, cancer survivor, probably considered high risk. Obviously, he's probably in better health, condition health-wise than a lot of the population. But, still concerning. So, I hope these guys take it serious and there's less because I mean the nature of the situation is there's just more infections out there right now. So people that aren't compliant or not, even if they are compliant, are just more likely to catch it if they let their guard down for a second. So and I mean the smallest consequence is having to reschedule these games and being an inconvenience for degenerates like you and myself trying to fill fantasy rosters. You have poor little Mason out there. Thoughts and prayers who had to start freaking Greg Ward because he didn't know if Chase Claypool was going to be available or not. So
I did that in a league that the former Best Buy league that I'm in. I took out all my Steelers. I think I might only have one. It might be Deontay Johnson, but
yeah,
I replaced him because I was like, I don't even want to deal with it.
yeah, I'm going up against Deontay Johnson, some guy who's may or may not be controlling the world that we live in. Conveniently has Deontay Johnson and started him, somewhat confidently if he's still in there. So maybe he knows something. Maybe he's pulling the strings to the universe. I don't know, but yeah. So I mean that's what's going on. That's the situation I'm dealing with. Um, this opportunes, if that's a word, a nice segue. We have people testing positive and affecting things majorly in the NFL. Similarly, in our other, our B sport here that we seem to focus on a lot, Formula One, current reigning 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton tests positive and is going to be replaced by George Russell, the Williams young lad at William or at Mercedes. He's replacing him. So big news. How excited are you, Jeff, for little Georgie to get a ride with the big boys?
So to be completely honest, this is the most excited I've ever been for F1. Um, I don't know why, but I've liked George Russell ever since you kind of got me into F1.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know why. He seems like a good dude. He actually seems like a pretty good racer, just stuck on a bad team at the moment. He has the qualification record of out qualifying a teammate, right? In a row
Mm-hmm.
or something like that.
Oh, okay, that's
Um,
the record you were talking about.
yeah, that's on the line this week. Obviously, very likely that it will fall, as Bottas is very good in his own right,
Uh-huh.
and has a full season with the car, whereas
Yeah.
George is just coming in this week. Um, I'm excited for him to race, right? I think there's a couple things this weekend that are a plus or minus for Lewis, depending on how you look at it, right? If George comes in and let's say George and Valtteri both podium, which I do think is on the likelier side of the outcomes. If we're looking at like every outcome possible, I think that's like a probably less than 10% chance, but like still somewhat likely.
Mm-hmm.
If that happens, the anti-Lewis people probably look at it and go, "Oh, well, anyone can drive that car." Blah 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 blah. Right? I do think though that if you're a Lewis fan, if George comes in and finishes 10th, right? Maybe he gets his first points ever, but he just finishes 10th. That's a positive for Lewis because no one can win in that car, right?
Yeah.
Like, depends on how you view it. I personally don't look at it that way. I mean, if you look at the history of F1, we've talked about this before. Cars tend to dominate through periods, and
Mm-hmm.
then it changes to somebody else for whatever reason, right? And granted, the cars that dominate tend to have the best drivers because that's just how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but overall, I'm excited. I think George has a big chance this weekend. It's almost like a tryout for Mercedes, even though they already kind of know what they have with him. It's a tryout in the actual car in an actual race. From what I read, too, he may, I don't know if this is official, but he may get the start next week as well if Lewis is out.
Mhm.
Again, I don't know if it's official. I mean, Lewis doesn't need to race. Next week's the final, right? Or the last race. I think there's only this weekend and next weekend.
Yeah.
Lewis already has the championship, and Mercedes already has their championship, right? So
Yeah.
it's not like they even need Lewis. So might as well get the last couple weeks with George, and that way you can decide what you want to do going into next year or the year after with him, right?
Yeah. If I'm Valtteri Bottas, that's the situation's more concerning than Lewis. Um, Mercedes might have put themselves in a tough spot here. I don't know what Bottas's contract is, but if Russell gets dropped in there, who's been in the car at the back of the grid or in a car at the back of the grid, and a new kid outperforms him in his first race, it's going to be tough. But there is something to having that teammate that is there in a support role that doesn't steal points away. For Ferrari for a while, they had Felipe Massa and Kimi Räikkönen. They kind of ate into each other's points, and a few years when the title was close, they both lost out because of it.
Yeah.
So it's always hard to find that balance as far as this individual race goes. I don't know if you've looked at the layout for the track, but this is the Sakir Grand Prix at the same track as last week, but a different layout. It's a very rectangular shaped uh, of track ribbon or layout. So the Mercedes advantage is probably going to be even more since there's a lot of straightaway running.
Yeah.
So George Russell he has a good shot at a top two just right off the bat. I expect it to be them and Racing Point up at the front of the grid this weekend. So
Yeah.
it's not too far of a long shot that he could win outright, which would be a hell of a storyline. And
That
in this year when Lewis is winning everything, there has been some it has been entertaining. It hasn't been like other years where there's not many storylines. The midfield battles have been great.
yeah.
Ferrari being terrible has been entertaining in some way.
It has
Some
because they've
sick
been
way.
so bad at times,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah. I think that's what makes it entertaining is when they're running up towards the front of the grid. You can see that at least Leclerc has some skill and Vettel still has something left in the tank.
yeah.
So but the main we'll see how this weekend goes. The main thing coming out of last weekend though was Romain Grosjean's crash, and basically, if you're hearing this and you just listen to this for I don't know, you get some entertainment out of it. Definitely look up what happened with Romain Grosjean and his crash. Viewer discretion is advised. It may be some pretty disturbing images, but basically he crashed in the wall and the car split in half and exposed the fuel somehow. Big fireball. The car dug into the Armco, the kind of metal barricades. It's kind of similar to what you would see around like cliffs driving on the beach or something, or driving up the mountain. That metal kind of bumper looking not material, but um, guards there, and the monocoque, the nose of the car, wedged in between, I think got stuck. Luckily, the halo device that protects them from head injuries kind of drove a wedge and split the Armco and basically gave him an escape path, but he had to undo his restraints. And it was just a complete ball of fire.
Yeah.
And the medical team, the follow car, luckily this was happened on first lap and in like the third or fourth corner. So they were right there, doused him with some fire extinguisher, and he was able to climb out. He has second degree burns on his hands, but otherwise he's he's okay. And even 5 years ago, I don't know that he would have survived that accident, because I mean, unfortunately, he would have probably suffered a fatal head injury if the Halo device wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I mean, what are your thoughts, Jeff? You're still new-ish to Formula One, so you probably haven't seen too many. I mean, were you watching it live by chance, or
I I wasn't. I was at a baseball tournament in Yuma for
uh,
Thanksgiving, but I did watch the replay of the race, and this was, obviously I knew the outcome at that point. We'd talked about it in our group chat. I knew Grosjean was safe, right?
mhm,
Watching it, I think, obviously, that he's safe. He just gets out with, I believe it was like minor burns and no real other injuries, from my
mhm,
knowledge. Um, it's not that bad to watch, right? Because you go, oh, like, that's cool. He's safe, right? That's a big
mhm,
crash, and big crashes are always kind of fun to watch. But you're like, oh, but he gets out good. If I'd watched this live, it might have been a little more tense, because you see it happen, you see the crash, and then everything's up in flames pretty quickly.
mhm,
Um, and that's the scariest part, I think, for me and my knowledge of these cars. Not that guys can't die from an accident, but my knowledge of these cars, the biggest thing for them nowadays tends to be the fire, because it's hard. They're not the easiest things to get out of all
mhm,
right away. Um, and so, like, once you see the fire, that's like, in my mind, I go, oh shit, he's in real trouble, right?
mhm.
So I was kind of glad I didn't see it live. But yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, like I said, it's not one of those, like, he didn't flip over and skid on his head or anything. You know what I mean? You just
Mhm.
see the car hit the wall or hit the barrier, and then boom, there's flames. It's just like, oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. That's what caught me off guard is, you know, back in the day, the cars used to used to burst into flames like that. I don't know. I guess you still get that a little bit in NASCAR. There are some fires, but Formula One, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't think I've ever seen a fire like that besides
Yeah,
in the pit, when they're refueling, which they do not do now because of this
right.
specific reason. Um, it's it was really it was frightening. It was frightening.
Yeah,
I had I had thought, I had actually thought that the car didn't catch on fire. I thought it hit something on the side, like along the barrier. Maybe it hit a I don't even know, like a golf cart or something, but those are electric. I thought it maybe hit some sort of fuel tank or something and caused a spark. Or I thought that, I even sent a tweet out that said, looking at looking at it because I saw the back end of the car. I was like, it looks like the car is not the source, not realizing that the front of half of the car was 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 in the bottom of the flames, basically.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, really, really wild. Hats off to, I'm not going to say hats off to the FIA because they're horrible in a lot of other ways, but hats off to the people that are in control of the safety mandates for Formula One, because that is the one area where they've really excelled is driver safety and making these types of changes. And it used to be there'd be a few deaths a year back in the 60s and 70s, and now they're becoming much, much, much less less frequent. We had Ayrton Senna die in '94, and then Jules Bianchi. I can't remember what year it was. It was in the I want to say somewhere around 2012 ish, maybe 2013. he he suffered a head injury because of a freaking tractor that was removing another car out on track, and this is before the Halo. And anyway, he was in a coma for a few years, but he eventually did pass away because of basically, because of those injuries. So
Yeah.
I mean, really, those are the last two, 94 and then mid 2000s. So pretty good safety record. But yeah, and last year I don't know. Wait, you probably saw it. You saw Drive to Survive, right? Which is still,
Yeah, we're in
they
the
need to change the name.
F2.
Yeah, GP2. There was that wreck at Spa where a driver did die. So I mean, there's still it still happens, but it's much less often. Anywho, I'm excited for the race this week. Hopefully, we get an entertaining race, and if nothing else, it'll be fun watching George Russell, um, you know, scoot around and give Valtteri Bottas a run for his money, and give us a
Yeah.
baseline to assess Lewis Hamilton on, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that's all I got, Jeff. Unless you have something real quick to touch on before we
That's
get out
all
of
I
here.
got. I'm good.
All right, good deal. Don't forget to like, subscribe, on all the podcast channels, on our social channels at FC Wine Mixer. We'll be back for a more traditional show next week. Let's get ready for some Wednesday afternoon football.
Let's go.
Might be the one time only. Hopefully, we won't get more games rescheduled. However, there's already a Tuesday game and an extra Monday game next week, so adjust your rosters accordingly. All right, man. Always a pleasure. Thanks, Jeff.
See you, buddy.
Adios.